Hello, and welcome to another gay book review. This time we're touching My Bad Ex-Boyfriend by Daryl Banner. I am your host, Shirada Sky, or Ryan, whichever you prefer. And we're going to dive into what was not the worst read, but was not the best in terms of what I've come to expect from Daryl Banner. So I wonder where we're going from here, you know? But before we get into all my thoughts and everything like that, as per usual, we're going to be touching on a lot in regards to the story, so just be prepared for things like spoilers. We're going to be touching on the plot. I won't be spoiling the entirety of the book, but we'll be touching on the characters, some of the names, and some of the just kind of plot beats as a whole. So let's introduce our cast, so to speak. So we have Evan James Pryor and Dane Cooper as our two main love interests, and the ex of my bad ex-boyfriend, in this case Dane Cooper, at least as far as the way the narrative would have you believe, if you will. So Evan is also equally culpable in the breakup. In fact, Evan is the one to break up with Dane in the kind of college era that they were together in. He's outwardly and overly worried about appearances and status. He lives in a predominantly gay area, kind of like a HOA, and they talk about the HOA a lot, but like an HOA kind of uppity, up class, rich area, if you will. He owns a salon that he built with, a generous, significant contribution from his father. We love wealth that's being passed down to families. And he's given up on his dreams, as we kind of hear from Dane's perspective as an interior designer. It's mentioned that he interior designed basically his own hair salon, and that he really enjoyed that aspect of it. But as Evan kind of states, it's a job you do once for somebody, maybe twice, and that's it. So he's kind of he's a lame character, Evan. I'm sorry to say, he is just not, he's kind of just a woe is me character, and it's not normally what I get from, Daryl Banner in terms of, kind of the two opposing love interests, if you will. And on the other hand, we have Dane Cooper, and he is, again, like I mentioned, the ex in My Bad Ex-Boyfriend. He's a former cop. All cops are bad and all cops are bastards, so fuck off. But he now has given up his life on the force to become a private investigator, where he investigates, adultering men, housewives who have too much time and watch too many soap operas to, consider that their husband might actually just be working, stuff like that, where he just investigates, dumb shit, small shit, less big things, if you kind of can understand what I'm trying to get at here. It's very much a step down, if you will. Whereas Evan kind of reads as woe was me. Dane is always a fucking asshole, and more so, he's kind of a dick in the book in a way. And I'm not trying to say wishy-washy, he's kind of a dick, but he's kind of not. He is an outright dick to Evan because of the breakup. He acts like he is playing games and doing all this dumb shit. Calling him Cupcake, coming over unannounced, and just kind of showing up. Granted, there's reasons for that, but it's very much just so, not what I was expecting when I read My Bad Ex-Boyfriend. I was expecting, My Bad Ex-Boyfriend as in, toxic masculinity bullshit. This is just more, you're annoying and kind of a stalker-ish, He does live in a cabin in the lake by the middle of the forest, which does come into play when he is able to get Evan away and show him, Evan, you can be fucking normal around here. You don't have to be this uppity, snob, if you will. But speaking of snobs, let's move into the fucking HOA cast. So there's not a lot of characters in this book, despite there being a fuck ton of characters in this book. Besides the main characters, Evan and Dane, there's a gaggle of Evan's neighbors, and that's it. This whole book takes place in maybe 3 locations. A bar in the beginning, and I think kind of throughout the middle. Evan's neighborhood as a general concept, vague as it is, and then Dane's cabin. That's the 3 main places this thing takes place at, other than random houses within the neighborhood that are so nondescript that they're basically just not even there. But we have Raymond, who is the head of the HOA association in Evan's neighborhood. We have Xavier, who is the new boy in town, and people don't know what to make of him. We have Ari and his boyfriend Antonio. We have Josiah, Stevie, Marcellus, Vinny, and Old Man Hansen. I couldn't describe any of these to you more than just their name. The fact that I pegged Antonio as the boyfriend, just pure happenstance, because I would have missed his name, because he's barely there. He gets referenced a couple times because I think Ari, however you say the name, is the only one in a relationship in the book. Maybe? Unless Marcellus and Vinny are together. I could be wrong. But anyway, moving on to the actual plot and like what happens in this book. In the beginning, Evan is meeting up with his ex, Dane, as his neighborhood is being subjected to various harassment incidents. Things like spray painting the mailbox pink, spray painting a dick on a garage door, chopping off roses, all this kind of like non-HOA approved activities, if you will. And then when he's meeting, when Evan and Dane are meeting, the meeting essentially devolves into animosity as the two former lovers aren't quite over each other, but still refuse to admit it, and also refuse to admit that they were wrong in the relationship, that they had some culpability in that sense. Which does come into play later. Dane obviously accepts because he's not over Evan, and begins investigating the neighbors, and several more incidents occur, ranging in severity, but thankfully no actual like gay bashing happens, which is what I was kind of afraid of when we started going through this. Like, middle school, high school hazing bullshit of like spray painting a dick on your locker or spray painting a dick on your garage door, you know? So the mystery itself is not that good, but we'll get into that as well. Dane says Evan has changed since the breakup, which, you know, Dane clocks and calls out and is rightfully kind of surprised and not okay with. Evan doubles down and pushes his ex away despite some casual flirting, grinding, and hookups. Like, they hook up occasionally a couple times throughout the book. You know, just kind of heat of passion, kind of we're not over each other stuff. But Evan is still preoccupied with the image that he has in his area of, like, you know, that doesn't mesh with Dane's kind of more rough and tumble kind of attitude. One of the things I will get into when I talk about the rankings is Evan's insecurity, and I will touch on that briefly, like I said, now and then in the rankings. And then Dane thinks Evan is too worried about how he appears to everyone else and isn't living his own life, but rather the life that others he thinks he should have. And Evan just thinks that Dane is living life as if it's a game. And he explicitly states so in the when they first meet up of like, everything's just a game to you. You'd never take anything seriously, which I can understand, but we'll touch on more detail here. Let's go into the tropes because I have problems with them as well. So tropes. Just one trope today, please. Enemies to lovers, I guess. Like, they're not enemies. They're just bitter exes. Like, that's not enemy material. Enemy, I'm thinking of like bully victim or superhero supervillain. Like people on opposing sides. Like, you know, if Dane was a cop, all cops are bastards, I get. But if Dane was a cop and Evan was like some sort of like punk, like college dropout, getting into the wrong crowds, or like drug dealer or something, I could see that being more enemies to lovers. But the fact that this is touted as an enemies to lovers book, according to Amazon, is not what I would call it. I also read some reviews on Amazon that they're like, this was supposed to be like a BDSM novel, and I'm like, haha, no. By no means of this is anything BDSM. If anything, it barely touches the surface of that, because Dane is a controlling dick, and he's the top, and he's rough and aggressive. That's the bare minimum I'll accept. But like, they don't act as like full-on enemies. Yeah, there's animosity, but they're exes. Like, it's not like they're complete strangers who fell into love, you know? I would never call them as enemies. If anything, I would say like exes to lovers, if that could even be the trope, would be better than just calling it enemies to lovers, you know? Because there's no outright animosity besides the fact that they have history, and that Evan thinks Dane isn't taking this seriously, and Dane thinks Evan is just doing this to please the HOA association, aka Raymond, and kind of promote this image of, I got my shit together, or like, I'm better than, you know, my ex or whatever. Like, just dumb like image stuff. I do like their history though, as like exes to lovers, because in like, there's some snippets when we get to see them like kind of reminisce about their college relationship and like their college dating life, and I really love that shit, because it's like, I think it was like Evan is like in the back of the class, and then Dane comes and sits next to him, and they start chatting, and then Dane runs after him after class or whatever. It's cute shit. Like, I would have eaten up their college relationship even if it ended up in a breakup at the end, I would have eaten that shit up like fucking breakfast, you know? I would have loved to read their college relationship more than this. But like, the book largely takes place during like the mystery of the present day era, but like I wanted more of their college relationship because I would have gotten more out of it, you know? So let's kind of stop hemming and hawing about it, and let's go through some rankings real quick, because I don't have much else to say for tropes, because there's not much. It's a mystery, but not really, because like the mystery's it's there, but it's like just there as a plot device, you know? It's not the main point. And I guess all mysteries are technically a plot device, but like it's not a mystery novel. It's a romance novel with a mystery thrown in, you know? So let's go to some rankings. So as we'll go through, we'll touch on the plot, the characters, the writing style, the spicy, sexy scenes, and then my overall ranking and thoughts of this book. Starting off with the plot, I gave 2.5 stars. Like I said, I would have loved to have had more of their college relationship as a full standalone book. I love Daryl Banner as an author. I've loved all of his like spruce high school romance, small town romance, whatever it's called, the spruce city that he's created. Or town, I should say. It's not a city. But anyway, I didn't care for this one. I really thought I would love this. And I thought based on the title, and I'm judging books on their cover, I know. And the cover, I was like, oh, this is going to be right up my alley. A bad ex-boyfriend? Oh, is he going to be like, kind of not an anti-hero, but like, is he going to be on like the quote-unquote wrong side of the tracks? Is he going to be kind of into, you know, drugs, on the, you know, enemies with the law, and like, is this going to be like a goody two-shoes who falls in love with like almost, what was I thinking of? Like goody two-shoes falls in love with a punk, or the bad boy, if you will. I'm like, okay, great. I love that. The mystery, if you can call it that, is not the best. It's nice. It's a nice kind of through line that keeps them together. But like between the arguments in the beginning, the animosity that they kind of fester, I didn't get that they were like ready to get back together, Evan and Dane. And I just never thought that they were like, they're good together, yes, but I just never thought like it was gonna happen based on how the way like everything was happening with regards to the mystery, and then the conclusion where Dane isn't even fucking involved, and it's Evan who saves the fucking day, you know? So it just felt off in a lot of places. For the characters, I like Dane Cooper the most. I don't care for Evan. I think Evan's a stuck-up little brat, but that might just be the point. So, yeah. And also, all the add-ons, I didn't care for. I didn't care for all the, like, the cast of the HOA. I didn't get to know any of them. Like I said, if this was a college book, if this was their relationship in college, vastly different. Vastly different. Give me 1 second. All right. And then as far as the writing style, this is, I think, where the book shines for me. Like I said, I love Daryl Banner as an author. He writes great, in my opinion. This book is by far not my favorite of his. As I've mentioned before, I have others like, you know, Football Sunday and stuff like that. His older, not older, but like, you know, his small town romance books are like my favorite. I did like it. I thought it was well written for what it was. There's a lot of talking at us though, in terms of like the characters talking to us about like, I could never get back with my ex. He's an asshole, right? Just kind of like inner monologuing that was like a bit repetitive. And as far as spicy scenes go, I think it was good. I mean, Dane and Evan fuck, and that's pretty much all I expect from like gay romance novels, is just some dicking down. And I appreciated it, you know? I quite liked it, but it's again not my favorite. It again, Daryl, I'm assuming, I'm talking like as if I know him. I don't think Daryl Banner meant to have it classified as a BDSM novel. I don't know where that came from. I did read one review that was like, I can't believe this is a BDSM novel. And I'm like, I don't know how we got there, but we got there. Sure, it's not that. If it had been a little bit more spicier, I think I would have liked it a little bit better. But for what it was, it's okay. So overall, I think this is a 3-star book, which is sad because most of Daryl Banner's books are ranking quite high for me. I haven't gone through all of his, obviously. I still have like 4 more that I haven't even read. But as far as the ones I have read, I do enjoy it. But it reminds me of the other one I read that I actually hated. There is a book of his that I don't like, and it's called Jerk. I haven't touched on it yet. But I will probably soon, just to get a compare and contrast. I'll probably review one of my favorite books of his, I think Wrangled, soon. And then I'll compare that to Jerk at some point, because those two are like diametrically opposed in content and everything in terms of how I like them. So anyway, that's not here nor there. So let's go through some overall recommendations. So I have to talk about it. If you want actual enemies to lovers, Primal by K.A. American is a phenomenal fucking read. It's definitely a lot more darker. There's a lot more BDSM. It's a lot more feral and wild. And the characters are actually enemies. One of them was like, it's basically Stockholm Syndrome. One of them's a kidnapper, one of them's a kidnappee. That's the enemy shit I'm looking for. And then if you want someone with past history, like, you know, Dane and Evan have, Wrangled by Daryl Banner, a Spruce, Texas romance, is phenomenal. It's about high school exes that reunite in their high school reunion, or high school bully and a high school victim, if you will, that reunite during their high school reunion, and it's phenomenal, and it's steamy, and this is what I want from Daryl Banner, so I appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy the books I recommend. Let me know if you have any recommendations of your own, or if you have read any ones I've suggested so far. And as always, I can't make this without my support from my Patreon, so I want to give a big shout out to Potato Kingdom. Thank you so much for being a patron of mine. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate that you are sticking with me while I do these silly little videos for you. Not just him specifically, but just anyone who wants to support me or even watch these. I'm doing these videos for you, so hopefully you guys can get something out of these book reviews, if you will. And I appreciate you guys just hanging out and listening to me ramble for 20, 30 minutes at a time. More like 20 to 15, but, don't exaggerate, Ryan. But if you ever do want to find me in other places, you can find me on Twitch. I stream nightly on Sky at twitch.tv/Sky. I'm also on Twitter, where you can hear my gay thoughts directly and or just see me repost fucking sexy art all the time. And if you want to support me on Patreon, feel free to do so. There's no pressure. I will continue to do these for as long as I can, until the world comes down around us. Who knows? But I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead of you. I know this is going to be posted on a weekend, so I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Hope you stay safe. And, if you need to strike it out, to be topical. So I hope you guys are safe and doing well, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.